Have you ever thought about how the skills from a simple board game, like chess, could be used to solve some of the world's biggest problems? It's a fascinating idea, right? Well, today, we're going to talk about someone who did exactly that. This is the story of Demis Hassabis, a true pioneer whose journey began on a chessboard and is now literally reshaping our future.
And this one quote, it tells you everything you need to know about the scale of his ambition. This was never about just making a smarter computer program. No, this is about getting to the very heart of what intelligence is and then using that knowledge like a master key to unlock solutions for everything. It's an unbelievably bold goal, and it's been the driving force behind his entire life.
So, how did he get from a simple game to changing the world? Here's how we're going to break down his incredible story. We'll start with his early days as a young prodigy, then see how he moved from video games to studying the human brain. We'll watch as he creates his company, DeepMind, and then takes on one of the biggest challenges in biology. And finally, we'll see how it all led to the ultimate recognition, a Nobel Prize.
Okay, let's jump right in. Our story doesn't begin in some fancy high-tech lab. It starts in the world of competitive games, where a very young Demis Hassabis was already seen as a kind of once-in-a-generation talent.
I mean, his early years were just staggering. Get this, by 13, he was already a chess master, a level most people spend their whole lives trying to reach. He was the second best player in the world for his age group. Then he breezes through his advanced high school exams a whole year early, and at just 17, helps create a video game called Theme Park that becomes a massive hit, selling millions of copies.
But then, right in the middle of all this success, something changed. He's in this grueling 10-hour chess match, and he has this big epiphany. He looks around the room, sees all these brilliant people pouring all their mental energy into this one single game, and he thinks, what if we used all this brain power for something else, something like curing diseases? He realized then and there that as much as he loved chess, dedicating his whole life to it just felt too small. He needed a bigger challenge. And that bigger challenge led him to make a huge pivot, away from the game board and into the science lab. He figured if he was going to build an artificial intelligence, he'd better start by understanding the original version, our own brains. So he dove headfirst into the world of neuroscience.
And what's so fascinating is how perfectly his old skills translated to his new passion. You see, the things he did when designing video games, building entire worlds, creating smart characters, solving tricky problems, were basically the same questions he was now asking about the brain. How do our memories work? How does our mind paint a picture of the world around us? And what's the link between remembering the past and imagining the future?
And he didn't just study these questions. He actually made a landmark discovery. He found that patients with amnesia, who couldn't remember their past, also couldn't imagine new experiences. This revealed this incredibly deep connection. The part of our brain we use to reconstruct the past is the same part we use to construct the future. It was such a big deal that the prestigious journal Science called it one of the top 10 scientific breakthroughs of the year.
Okay, so now he's got the gaming smarts and the neuroscience expertise. He was ready for his next big move. He co-founded a company with a mission that honestly sounded like something straight out of science fiction. He called it DeepMind. And this was the core idea, the whole shebang. He didn't want to build an AI that was good at just one thing, like playing chess. He wanted to build an AI that could learn to do anything. The plan was to take what he'd learned about how our brains work and combine it with the power of modern computing to create a truly general intelligence. And if they needed a way to prove this idea could work, boy did they find one. Enter AlphaGo. Now, Go is an ancient board game, but it's way more complex than chess. Most experts thought it would be decades before a computer could beat the best human players. But DeepMind's AI, AlphaGo, trained by watching human games and then playing against itself millions of times, did the impossible. It beat the world champion, Lee Sedol. It sent shockwaves around the world and proved that their approach was the real deal. But here's the crucial thing to remember. The games were never the end goal. They were just the training ground, the warm-up act. Now, with this powerful AI in hand, Hassabis and his team at DeepMind turned their attention to a massive 50-year-old problem in biology, one of the great grand challenges of modern science.
So what was this giant scientific puzzle that had stumped researchers for half a century? It's something called the protein folding problem.
Now, I know that sounds really technical, but stick with me, because the basic idea is actually quite simple. Proteins are like tiny little machines that do all the work in our bodies.
They start out as long, floppy strings of stuff, but to do their job, they have to fold up into a very specific, very complicated 3D shape. Just think of it like a key. If you don't know the exact shape of a key, you have no idea what lock it opens. It's the exact same with proteins. Their shape decides everything about what they do.
And this is the moment that changed modern medicine forever. DeepMind created a new AI called AlphaFold, and it did what scientists had been trying to do for 50 years. It figured out how to predict the 3D shape of a protein with unbelievable accuracy. For all intents and purposes, the protein folding problem was solved.
And they didn't just solve it for a few proteins and keep it to themselves. No. In an incredible act of scientific goodwill, they used AlphaFold to predict the shapes of over 200 million proteins. That's pretty much every protein known to science. And then they released that entire database to the public for free, for any scientist in the world to use. Just incredible.
Okay, so why is this such a big deal for us, for our health? Well, it's because so many diseases, things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, even some cancers, are connected to proteins that fold into the wrong shape. By knowing the correct shape, scientists can now design new medicines that can target these problem proteins with incredible precision. This one breakthrough has put the search for new treatments and cures into overdrive. We could see the first drugs designed by AI in clinical trials in just the next couple of years.
As you can imagine, a breakthrough of this magnitude, this perfect blend of computer science and biology, did not go unnoticed. It brought Demis Hassabis the highest honor a scientist can receive and opened the door to an even more amazing future.
In 2024, it became official. The incredible impact of AlphaFold was recognized when Demis Hassabis was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. It was a truly historic moment, a huge validation, not just for his life's work, but for the power of using artificial intelligence to unlock the biggest secrets of science.
But for a mind like his, solving one of science's greatest puzzles wasn't the finish line, it was a starting pistol. He's already launched his next company, Isomeric Labs. And its goal, to take this amazing technology and use it to reimagine the entire process of discovering new medicines from the ground up.
So, from a young kid wondering if there was a better use for all that brain power in a chess hall, to a Nobel Prize winner using AI to help cure diseases, the story of Demis Hassabis is pretty amazing. It really leaves you with an inspiring question. Now that we have these incredible new tools to help us solve problems, what other great challenge will humanity solve next?